We are Dennis and Min. Come join us on our traveling adventures around the world. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to get right into, is it worth considering retiring in Costa Rica? Costa Rica has been on the radar for many expats, and many people from the US have decided to retire in Costa Rica. For a country of 5 million people there are roughly around 100,000 expats from the United States. That is about 10 times the amount that are in Portugal, Americans as expats, to put it in perspective, with Portugal having double the population. So why did we go to Costa Rica? It was high on our list. We had been researching countries to retire to eventually, and Costa Rica regularly ranks up there in the top 10 or 12 consistently for many reasons. Great year-round weather, great health care, wonderful scenery, lots of activities to do outside, and I guess there's just such a diversity also in the landscape there. The people are wonderful, they've got wonderful seafood, of course, so many reasons why, and of course many years have gone by where people have been retiring there, and having been there when we went, to our surprise, things weren't quite as inexpensive as we were hoping they might be. So if you can, please do us a favor so our channel can grow. Like and subscribe so we can continue to bring you great content moving forward. That would really be appreciated. Thanks so much for doing that. And so we're going to get right into Costa Rica. Is it a place to consider to retire? I would say for sure, yes, absolutely. Was it for us and what we're looking for? No, but it was a wonderful place to visit. So this was February of 2022. Min and I stayed for 5 weeks throughout the country, different locations. And we stayed at Airbnbs, and then from there we would take day trips to various towns and cities nearby during those the week or so that we were staying in those Airbnbs to get a good perspective on those surrounding areas. I will say that we did not go to the Gulf side or the Atlantic side of Costa Rica, and we had heard that it's fairly rural there. It's just as beautiful, and maybe more so, than the rest of Costa Rica. But they are a little bit behind, I think, in terms of infrastructure, road maintenance, and utilities and whatnot. And even in the rest of Costa Rica, as we experienced, those things could have been a little bit more improved upon as well. But overall, we really enjoyed our time in Costa Rica. It's a great place to vacation and spend a holiday at if you haven't already. So I did mention that there's about 5 million people that live in Costa Rica. Some stats, about 500,000 are foreigners, many from Nicaragua and El Salvador. Many of those work as well. Costa Rica, of course, is a Spanish-speaking country, but many people throughout the country do speak English. And again, it's just a very diverse environment. They have hot springs, they've got volcanoes, they have jungles and beaches and rivers, and there's just a lot to see and do there. If you want to do White River water rafting, they've got that. They've got hiking, they've got amazing trails all over. It's a very mountainous area, but yet they've got beautiful beach communities as well. They have rainforests, they have an array of wildlife, whether it's monkeys, iguanas, and birds like you've never seen anywhere else. So it's a spectacular place to visit. So we stayed at the following towns or visited them for a period of time to scout out if it's a place that we felt that we could perhaps call it home at some point. So the places that we stayed at, I'm going to be showing you some pictures here, were Alajuela, which is near the airport. And also we stayed nearby in Grecia and we went to Atenas, Fortuna. We also spent some time in Naranjo, Arenal. We were in Tamarindo, Liberia, Punta Arenas, the beach towns of Coco and Yaco, Cuepos, and Manuel Antonio. So we covered a pretty extensive part of the country of Costa Rica. And again, all those things that I was sharing about how wonderful it is can be found in a lot of those areas. There was some interesting things that we had seen along the road there. We did rent a car for the 5 weeks that we were there. It was a great way to be able to get around. And there is, well, at least a certain area, it just seems to go for miles and miles. They are farming these palm trees for their palm oil. Malaysia, we noticed that in the same thing. Unfortunately, in order to process and harvest this oil, they do have to burn the branches and or part of the tree, however that works, and it does lead to some bad air quality all throughout that part of the country where that happens. But yeah, you can just drive for miles and miles and miles, and all you see are these palm trees. So that was one thing that turned us off a little bit. Another thing that turned us off a little bit also was that the people, the residents there, they really like to secure their homes. And I can only presume they have their share of petty theft and some crime, like a lot of places. But you don't see many front doors from the street. People have just surrounded their homes, their properties with walls, and they're like these little fortresses in a sense. So it is what it is. Aesthetically, it is a little bit of a turnoff. It doesn't provide a lot of good vibes for a neighborhood feel. And there's not a lot of sidewalks too when you're driving in through different residential neighborhoods. Sometimes there are, but a lot of times it would be a little dangerous to be walking your dog on the street. And another thing as well is that the utilities, I don't know what it is, but we were at several different locations, I think 2 restaurants and somewhere else, I can't remember, but just out of nowhere in the evening time, the electricity for the entire restaurant just went black. Everything was out. And it was a little humorous. You know, people make light of it, and people that are from there recognize that I guess these little rolling blackouts are just a way of life. And it is something you just have to get used to. And so that was a little bit unnerving at first. But again, people's attitude was, And in time, of course, the lights did come back on after 10 or 15 minutes. But, you don't find that happening in a lot of places. So there are some pros and cons that we saw with Costa Rica. Also, having been to Portugal, just wanted to compare some things side by side. First of all, as I mentioned, they're both very safe countries. Portugal is actually ranked number seventh safest country in the world, and Costa Rica is ranked number 58 for safety, which is a lot better actually than the United States, coming in at 132. As I mentioned earlier, the weather is fantastic most of the time in a lot of Costa Rica, and it's a very tropical climate. So coming from Hawaii, we're very used to that. Especially the evenings are very comfortable. That doesn't get too cold generally. And also, when you look at Portugal, though, they do have their Atlantic islands of the Azores and Madeira, which have kind of a tropical vibe as well. So there are some similarities with those island groups. I would say the infrastructure is a little better in Portugal than Costa Rica. The connectivity, internet, Wi-Fi, is pretty good throughout Costa Rica with our experience of having traveled around the country, but there were still quite a few areas where it was very weak, and maybe some areas actually not at all. Portugal, I can't remember a single place, and we traveled up and down Portugal. I can't think of a single place where we had difficulty connecting to our usage, for our data. And the other thing would be healthcare. Both are very good with their healthcare. Costa Rica is actually ranked, according to Numio, number 49 in the world for healthcare, and Portugal is ranked number 21, and the United States I see ranked as number 38. So Portugal, yay for greatest healthcare among those three countries. But Costa Rica is not too far behind the U.S., and I think most people would agree with that. So what is our takeaway with Costa Rica? Again, it wasn't quite the vibe where we could see ourselves settling down and spending part of the year or retiring there. One of the main reasons was cost of living. We had expected that with Costa Rica. Again, we were just looking to travel. We were tired of, having to be stuck at home all the time. So Costa Rica, as I mentioned, was one of the first places we could get out and explore. But we think Costa Rica was probably a great place to be 20 years ago when there was this big excitement about expats and people retiring to Costa Rica. Like we see in a lot of places, the cost of living has just gone up over the years. And so for that reason, our money's just not going to go as far there as we've seen it be able to go in a place like Portugal. Oh, and the visa options. So Costa Rica actually does have a pretty good visa program. If I'm not mistaken, it takes 7 years to get your full residency, whereas in Portugal, it's only 5. Portugal is also one of the best. If you decide to get a second passport, Portugal is one of the few countries where you can have access to almost every other country in the world. I think it's ranked maybe number 4, number 5 best passport in the world to have. I'm not sure where Costa Rica is ranked for that. If people are interested, I'm sure you could find that information online. But in summary, Costa Rica, a great place for us to visit. I do hope that we can get back there again someday to explore some more. It is really a beautiful place with beautiful people, and it just wasn't a place where we could see ourselves retiring, especially in light of what we found in Portugal since. But it may be what you're looking for. So I hope that helps provide some insight as to what we found in Costa Rica. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please leave us a comment and let us know if you've been to Costa Rica and what your thoughts are, or if you've decided to retire there as well, how it's going. All right, everybody, take care and look forward to seeing you next time.